Following the stomach, the chyme is released through the pyloric sphincter and into the small intestine. The first part of the small intestine is shown here highlighted in pink, but the remainder of the small intestine is a very long tube that completes digestion fully and fully absorbs all of the organic molecule nutrients we need for energy and the building blocks of our cells. How the small intestine accomplishes this digestive feat by secreting its own set of intestinal enzymes aimed to digest all of the organic molecules it encounters. The small intestine is very long. It can be 6 to 7 meters long in length and has a very highly folded inner surface layer. We'll see in a moment in a little more detail. Both of those factors contribute to the incredibly efficient absorptive power of the small intestine. Again, absorption bringing those molecules into the bloodstream. So here we see a scanning electron micrograph of the internal surface layer of small intestine. So what we see here are a whole bunch of these finger-like appendages sticking out into what's called the lumen, the middle of the small intestine. And those are called villi. And if we take a look at a cross section under a microscope, you can see their individual structure. So indeed, they stick out like fingers into the central general area, the lumen of the small intestine. And these are the villi. And the villi, of course, are greatly increasing the surface area for the absorption of nutrients into the bloodstream, as opposed to just being one smooth inner surface. Now, furthermore, its surface area is increased by microvilli. So each and every single individual cell that make up the villi themselves have a folded cell membrane. And this is called microvilli. Now just imagine how greatly the microvilli increase the surface area of the small intestine. And then combine this internal folded surface with the 6 to 7 meters in length, and you start to get a sense for just how powerful the small intestine is at absorbing every last nutrient molecule that enters. So at this point, we'd like to turn our attention away from the organs directly involved with digestion to what we call accessory organs, organs that do not have food move through them, but play a role in digestion, a helpful role, such as the liver. The liver produces bile, which is an emulsifier. An emulsifier is something that tears lipids apart, making them smaller for enzymes to be more efficient at breaking them down. So for instance, remember that lipids were hydrophobic, non-soluble. In water, they tend to form these large lipid droplets. When bile is around, these bile salts, they tend to interact with the lipid as well as the aqueous solution around them, and therefore tear that lipid into very, very small droplets. And that way, enzymes have a much greater surface area of these lipids to work on to break them down and digest them. Now, bile is made by the liver, but it's stored in a small sac called the gallbladder. And the gallbladder is tucked right underneath of one of the lobes of the liver, as you can see here, and released as it is needed as food comes through the digestive system. The other accessory organ of the digestive system is the pancreas. Now, the pancreas is located just underneath the stomach, and it secretes a number of digestive enzymes, one for each of the major organic molecule groups. For instance, lipase and amylase are secreted by the pancreas to digest lipids and starches. Also, there is the secretion of bicarbonate. Bicarbonate is a buffer, and buffers bring that pH to a steady circumneutral range. And of course, the chyme coming out of the stomach is a very low pH of 2 because of that hydrochloric acid. A pH that low will not allow the digestive enzymes to function. So the pancreas buffers that pH by releasing bicarbonate. Now, both the gallbladder and the pancreas secrete those substances into the duodenum. The duodenum is this first part of the small intestine right here. And you can see how the gallbladder's common bile duct and the pancreatic duct both enter approximately the same location right in the duodenum. So as food is just coming out of the stomach, it gets hit with all of these enzymes, bile, and bicarbonate, this mixture that facilitates digestion. Finally, we have the large intestine. Now, the large intestine is composed of the colon and the rectum, and the colon is responsible for absorption of mainly water as well as some salts and vitamins. The colon also contains helpful bacteria, E. coli, that make vitamin K and B12 for you, and those are the vitamins that can get taken up in the large intestine. Now, just at the beginning of the large intestine, below where the small intestine meets the large intestine, are two structures, the cecum and the appendix, which their functions are still unclear, but they're thought to harbor helpful bacteria, or they were possibly an ancestral condition when we could digest cellulose at one time. And finally, the rectum, the second part of the large intestine, is where undigested matter known as feces are stored until it can be released through the anus.